Okay, guys. So we will start with this concept which we missed out in Merton, that is reference group. Okay. So when it comes to reference group means it is actually the see you can understand in this way the group in which you want to become a member. Like for example, right now you are aspiring for IAS or IPS, right? Or these civil service. So this group is actually your reference group and you want to be a member of that group. That's what the idea of reference group. So you want to be a part of them, so you consider this as your reference group. Okay, and you will set your norms, behaviors, character and everything on the basis of this. Now there is another group also, interaction group. Interaction group means the group in which you are currently part, like your social environment, the people with which you are interacting. But that is not your reference group. Reference group is the group in which you aspire to become a member in the future. Okay. Now, when it comes to reference group, there are two types of reference group. There can be positive reference group, there can be negative reference group. So when I've told you that this group that you want to become a member, this is your reference group. This is a positive reference group, right? On the other hand, some want to become members of some terrorist gang or the goons, right? So this mafias, etc., and they want to make money. So that is a negative reference group. You might have some people will get fascinated by seeing the movies, all these goons and all these underworld kings, etc. That is a negative reference group. Okay, so reference group means in simple terms the group in which you want to become a member, or you set that as your standard. Now you remember we discussed the concept of Sanskritization. Sanskritization is also based on this concept of reference group only. It is actually the application of reference group concept. So in Sanskritization concept, which is the group that the lower caste want to become a member? Mostly Brahmins, right? Or the dominant caste in that particular area. So Brahmins is the reference group there in general, or the dominant caste is the reference group there. What is that? All the lower caste want to become the part of that group, want to become the member of that group, right? So that is what you mean by reference group. You want to become part of that group. It can be positive, it can be negative. Okay, so now there are this is another criteria, this membership group, non-membership group. Once you become part of that group, then it is membership group. Okay, you consider this as your reference group, and once you become part of, you become an IAS or IPS officer, that is becoming a membership group. If not, that is non-membership. Now this is what positive and negative that we have already discussed. Okay, we'll go through this directly. So you'll see the definition defined as a group to which one always make comparison to in order to evaluate one's achievement, aspirations, roles, performance and ambition. Like we have discussed in the beginning, like you set the standard as your reference group, and based on which you will try to evaluate yourself, and you want to become one among that. Okay, they act as normative standard for the individual. Now you see, there was a question: how can you explain fashion in society based on this concept of reference group? Like you can talk about in this context, you need to set your reference group as Bollywood actors, etc., right? And their fashion, their must bodybuilding, or the hair, or the dress that they wear. All these are your benchmarks. So when you are considering that as your reference group, the fashion is actually set in that way. Similarly, when you're preparing for this exam, it is because of that particular reference group that you want to become a member, that you want to be part of it, right? And once you become part of it, that's what membership group. If not, right now, this is non-membership. You are not part of it. Okay, so now the dysfunction. Now this, what you do based on that, you follow their normative system, their value system, etc. So there will be a change in your value system automatically once you set that as your reference group. From your normal interaction group, there may be some changes. Your interaction may come down, your norms and values may change with respect to the reference group. So what will happen is it will become dysfunctional if you cannot be a member of that. It may affect you mentally also. At the same time, it will make you a marginal man if you cannot become a part of that group. Once you follow that group, and once you are totally cut off from your own group, okay, and if you are not able to become one among that particular group, what will happen? You will be reduced to a marginal man, because anyway you cannot go back to your interaction group, your normal group. At the same time, you will not be reaching, or you will not be part of this reference group also. So that situation is actually considered dysfunctional. So you can see Merton's approaches. He's talking about function, and he's also talking about dysfunctions. There are a lot of functions also, because positive reference group is actually setting a standard for you to evaluate yourself and your performance. So what is your positive reference group now? Your positive reference group is the IAS, IPS, IRS officers group, right? You want to become a member of that. So you can keep on evaluating yourself and your performance based on that. And you may set your normative standards and everything based on that. You may cut off from the existing groups and you want to become one among that. So it can be dysfunctional when, if you are not able to reach that level, like you gave one attempt, two attempt, three attempt. Now in this context only I'm explaining. In general we can discuss in any way. So even after exhausting all the attempt, if you're not able to become a member of that, what happened? You will feel like you're a margin, you will reduce to a marginal man, and you will not be part of the existing group. At the same time, this group also. Now you see, you try to imitate the behavior of this group, you try to act like them. This is what Merton calls as anticipatory socialization. You are anticipating that you are going to become a part of that group, and you behave accordingly. But at this stage you are not a member. You getting me? But you are expecting that you will become an IAS officer or an IPS officer, and you start behaving in that way. You follow their culture, you follow their norms, etc. That's what anticipatory socialization. You're socializing with the anticipation that you will become a part of that. So once anticipatory socialization is there, what will happen? From your normal friends, you may cut off from that. So that is the reason why I've told you the dysfunction of anticipatory socialization is, if you are not able to become part of that, then that is going to create problem for you mentally. Okay. So now, how to select the reference group? It can be based on power, prestige, whether it is open, close. You will consider only open system as the reference group because you want to become a part of them, right? Reference individuals or role models in a group. You like a person, your role model. For example, it can be a film star, so you want to become a member of this Bollywood community. Or you like some IAS officer and you consider that as your role model, or an IPS officer and you consider he as the role model. So you automatically become one among that. Okay. Or you want to become one among that. So based on that only, you will select the reference group. Now between generation also, the reference group may vary. Maybe the current generation more interested in private sector or entrepreneurship, etc. But the previous generation will be like IAS, IPS officers or the government employment. So there is a difference between generation with respect to the aspirations and the way you consider the reference group. So it all depends on the interest of the people, and this interest depends on the time also. What was the interest of the people like 10, 20 years back, and now is different. So a reference group is based on the interest of the people. So different people have different reference group. Why? Because their interest is different. Now you are sitting all the time and you're studying and you're doing all this hard work because your reference group is this, and if you want to become one among those, you need to put a lot of effort, right? So if your interest is different, then you need to do some other effort. So based on the interest, your reference group will vary. Based on time also, your reference group will vary. And based on time, if it varies, that's what the generation gap. Between generation, the reference group will be different. So these are the most important points that you need to know about the reference group. Okay. So this definition, whatever is important, I have underlined here. Definition, the group in which you want to become a member, or you try to make comparison with yourself, or you try to evaluate yourself, your achievement and aspirations, everything. Okay. So Merton later on distinguished between reference group and interaction group. What is that? Reference group is the group in which you want to become a member, you aspire to become a member. Interaction group is what? Your current group, right? The interaction groups are a more general part of individual social environment, but may it's not important for setting your moral standards or normative standards or anything. You will not make any comparison with your environment. You try to make comparison with your reference group, how far they are and how can we become one among that. That is the comparison that you used to make. Okay, so reference group in simple language, it is the aspirational group. So membership, I hope you understood. Non-membership, I hope you understood, right? So this is like if you become part of that, once you become an IAS IPS officer, then that's a membership group. Or once you join the movie industry, then if that is your interest, if this is your interest, you become one among that, and then that is membership. If you this is your interest and you become one among that, then membership group. But if not, non-membership group. You're trying to become one among that, that is non-membership group. So currently, what is your stage? Your stage is like this, non-membership group. Now it can be positive and negative. That also I hope you understood. You wish to become an IAS IPS officer, this is positive. But if you wish to become a mafia king or underworld don, etc., you might have got motivation seeing the movies and all. So that is a negative reference group, becoming a terrorist, etc. Okay, now this is a concept of anticipatory socialization, in which individuals start to behave in a manner in which the members of the aspirational reference group behave. Like you start behaving in a way that the film stars are doing. Like I've given you the question, no, it was asked in 2015. Okay, the question was, how can you explain fashion in society by using the theory of reference group? So this is nothing but anticipatory socialization. How can you explain fashion by using anticipatory socialization? Because what you do, you follow Salman Khan, like the body language, the chain that he's using in his arms, and then this dress style, right? All these things, the hairstyle and everything. So that is how you can explain fashion in society based on this concept of reference group and especially anticipatory socialization. Okay. So it lead to change in value system of the individual. Now, this is a dysfunction. What is a dysfunction of anticipatory socialization? See, if it is a closed system, for example, if you see movie industry, if there is a nepotism and you cannot become part of that and you wish to become one among that, and you are not able to get into that. Okay, so for example, Brahmins, if you want to become one among that, but it is closed system. But if you start behaving like that, then it will create problems that become dysfunctional. You want to become an IAS IPS officer, but it is almost a closed system, right? It is very difficult to get through this. So what will happen if it is open theoretically, but practically there are a lot of hindrances to reach there, no? So in such a situation, an individual become, very demotivated, and he will be alienated in his own social group. Why? Because you are already socializing in a different world with respect to the different group. So you are totally cut off from your own social group and also fail to gain entry into the reference group. So this is how you want to become a part of that, and you are already here, and you cut off from here and you're standing here now. So it's almost like you're standing in between. You cannot go up and you cannot come down also, right? So that is the situation. So membership group may not be a reference group, but non-membership group can be. Merton also suggested some factors. These are the factors for selecting the membership group. And this is with respect to the interest. So as interest change, reference group also change. And again, this interest depends on time, right? And based on that, there will be a generation gap. So that's about this concept of reference group. It's a very simple one. Any doubts here?